Okay, I'll test whether it works correctly or not. I'm not sure whether it'll work properly. My first streaming, so just in case, I'll check. Okay, I'll test whether it works correctly or not. I'm not sure whether. Okay, nice. So, basically, what I'm trying to do here is to have a challenge for myself. I want to learn psychology and I want to have a full course of it. I've made a 4 year program with, I think, 35 or 36 courses divided into chapters. And I want to try to learn it using my own website that I created, which is Lambdio. So basically, what I want to mix here is AI tutoring and spaced repetition. So I try to improve AI tutoring by parsing the learning information instead of relying on the LLM to create it for me. And I also try to use spaced repetition algorithm to know where I need to repeat the chapter so it will improve my long-term memorization. So basically, when you try to learn something, you almost forget it, and then you try to learn it again, you will learn it for a long, long period of time. And that's what I'll try to do. So here I'm on my own main web page. From here, you can either go to login or register. I'll use login. I implemented the Google Auth, so I'll just go like this. Okay, so here's a clean dashboard. What I'll try to do is I'll go to the paths section where I'm trying to work on the learning paths. So I'll try to choose the psychology one. It's fully developed into, as you can see, 4 year program. Okay, so I'll try to start with Introduction to Psychology. I'll enroll in a course. Then I'll go to My Courses. As you can see, clean paper. I'll set it to medium learning priority. I don't want to change that. And I'll see what I can do. I'll try to get some most important notes here. And I want to test this new learning approach myself. Let's see how it goes. Okay. Is it working correctly or not? Okay, it's fine. So, welcome to psychology. Okay. Introduction to psychology. Mhm. Okay. Okay. Psychology is defined as the scientific study of the mind and behavior. Okay. Mhm. Mhm. Very scientific rather than just based on opinions or anecdotes. Okay, so here's the first question for me. Why do you think it's important for psychology to be scientific rather than just based on opinions or anecdotes? We need to. I know I'm new to psychology, so I'll try to learn it. So, if I'm thinking correctly, we need to verify, test, and study how our mind works without relying on opinions. This way, we can put it as another field of study. Okay, so how I'm thinking about this is then you don't need just to rely on opinions on this. You need to verify it, you need to have theories, you need to verify them as well. Thinking about the fact that what makes the subject scientifically correct is the empirical data. So we cannot say that something is true until we prove it. So maybe that's true, maybe or not. So as well, even if you don't know anything, you just put your own thoughts to it, and you have it like a chat. So think about this as a virtual tutor. Now let's see whether. And I also know that I'm using the OBS. There's no chat overlay, so I'll try to verify whether somebody's here or not using basically my browser, not the overlay. So it's okay. I'll figure it out later. Okay, I apologize. Okay. Okay. Network connectivity issues. Is it not working right? Try again. Let me see whether it's working or not. Might be. Core distinction right. Okay. Okay. I think I'll need to verify whether I configured the API keys correctly or not. So it can say sometimes that it has problems with response, but you can also try to continue. You can try to send the message again, and it goes back. Yes. Okay. You've hit on the core distinction that makes psychology science rather than just a collection of opinions. Okay. And sometimes I'll be quiet because sometimes I read and sometimes I write notes for myself. So I'll be able to recollect my thoughts better at a later date. Objectivity, verification. Happen on my screen? No, it's fine. Just myself. That's fine. Or maybe there's one who's watching it. Maybe it's me. Or maybe it's not. Okay, fine. Either way, I do it first and foremost for myself, so if nobody's watching it, it's okay. Prediction and. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Fine. Okay. Okay, let's connect it to the chapter's history. Okay. Early psychologists were trying to figure out how to study the mind scientifically. Okay. Psychologists. Wilhelm Wundt. Okay. Mhm. Okay. And potentially another question to me is, can you spot a potential problem with introspection? Okay, I'll think about it after I'll note everything down here. Okay, John B. Watson. Mhm. Okay. Do you think do you think psychology should only study observable behavior, or it's their way to also scientifically study internal thoughts and feelings? Okay, so here's one additional thing that was added is that you can press enter to send the message, and you can use shift enter to make a new line. It was made specifically so if there are a couple of questions that were said, we can make one answer on one line, second answer on another line, and so on. So, actually, the first question was here. Can you spot a potential problem with okay, so I'll answer the problem with introspection is uh, that your own thoughts can be biased and lead to more bias. Again, it's just my opinion. I might be wrong about it because I'm only starting to learn psychology. So, sorry if I'm thinking incorrectly in this regard. And do you think psychology should only study observable? I think it's only one of the aspects that we should be looking for. Something tells me behaviorists are not the only group in psychology. Okay, here's my opinion. Let's see what it has. Mhm. Okay, so here's my opinion on it always tries to get you explanation. It has a certain learning structure that it needs to tell you. So because it pulls the learning data as a context to teach to you. That's why if there's something outdated or wrong, we could simply change the context that we pass to the large language model, and this way we'll be able to improve it. So instead of relying on AI pulling the data, which it can pull incorrect data, it can pull um, biased data, it can hallucinate and just create something on its own. Here, I try to minimize the hallucination rate by using it about, as part of the context. So let's see on introspection and bias. Okay, I'm um, this one. The phrase is "you are absolutely correct" is uh, sort of a meme already within the AI community. Is we're trying to make it as objective as possibly we can because we wanted to say, okay, here's your correct, here's your wrong. So far, uh, it can use this catchphrase, but I tested it before and I saw that when you are completely wrong, it will tell you, but it will tell you not in a harmful way. So let's see. Major criticism of introspection is its lack of objectivity. Okay. behaviorism and the broader field. Okay, as I thought, there's only one perspective, and there are, I think, different schools in psychology, and behaviorism is only one of them. Okay, we'll see what else. Should we only study what we can see, or can we also find ways to scientifically study the hidden world of the mind? I think. Okay. Phil does answer this by expanding. Let's see how using chapters timeline. Okay. And the cognitive revolution. Okay. And also wanted to note that I'm just added a timer, so I'll relatively I will know how much time I spent on each of the chapters. Of course, I think it'll be much quicker if I didn't note everything, but I personally think that it'll also be a boost for long-term memorization. Not only for the first learning session, but when I'll need to repeat this chapter, I will also have this in mind. So I'll be using both the spaced repetition algorithm that is provided by this website, but I will also make notes. So uh, hope it'll help me. Okay. So, psychology uses a toolkit of methods to study both the observable and the internal. Okay, and by the way, there is no time limit. You can have one learning session for hours. The only thing that I wanted to limit is the amount of tokens used, because I think that if you use it too much, there's approximately a line somewhere between 50 and 100,000 tokens used where the hallucination rate might increase. So in that case, it's better to finish the learning session, have the grade for yourself. I'll show you what it means later. And then you try another learning session either immediately if you want, or just wait until it tells you to review these. So, I'll be noting it, but um, as I'll continue this, I think for each time where I'll try to learn one chapter, I'll have anywhere between 3 to 7 review sessions where I won't be writing anything down. Rather, I'll be trying just to answer the questions quickly to verify that I still remember what I learned. Okay. By the way, is this stream still one watching? Empty chat. Okay. Reports. Oh, prepare something for myself. Mm, okay. Okay, interactive check. Look at this list of psychology subfields from the chapter. Which ones do you think rely more on studying internal processes? And which rely more on observing behavior? Okay. Hmm. Okay, I think. Uh, which ones? So it can be multiples. Hmm. Okay. More internal processes. Okay. And more observing behavior. Okay. Observing, I think, would be social psychology. And maybe. Hmm, see, I'm new to this, so I didn't really know. Okay. Um, Okay, I think that mm, maybe clinical um, biopsychology, and here will be social and cognitive. Okay, let's see whether I was that a correct answer or not. Let's see. Okay, yeah, here's uh, what I get wrong. Okay, so here is why I think parsing the context of where you're going to learn into the LLM is better. So it immediately verifies whether you're correct or wrong instead of saying you're absolutely correct every single time. So, as I said, it's okay for me to be wrong here because I don't know psychology, anything. I tried to learn. I have bachelor's degree in international relations, and I switched to computer science. So those two are very far away from psychology. But the more I learn, let's see. Hmm. Okay, I'll try not to write everything down, just key aspects. So here's where I was wrong. Okay, cognitive psychology is for studying internal mental processes. Again, I think that was a relatively easy question for psychologists, but I failed here. That's fine. Let's see. Hmm. Hmm. You'll want to study internal thoughts, emotions, and brain function, and we need to make careful observation of behavior. Okay. Okay, so cognitive, internal, biopsychology, internal, clinical, and personality is on person, focus on interaction is social and okay, developmental psychology. Mhm. Final question. Chapter mentions health psychology in the biopsychological model. Based on its name and its in this model, what do you think this subfield would have to study? Internal, observable, or both? Mm, health? Hmm. It is pretty hard for me to categorize them as purely um, internal or observable. So I suspect they are a mix of both. Yes or no? Let's see. Some tea for me? Okay, almost at 40 minutes of studying. It's okay. So the first learning would probably take an hour, but when we'll try to repeat this, it'll take less time. Okay. Hmm. Mhm. Used in health psychology. Like a little bit unrelated information, but as far as I remember, many of the fields of studies first appeared as some completely different thoughts that were competing with each other. And as time goes by, they try to make a mix of them. So in this case, I see that it claims that the biopsychological model is specifically designed to reject simple either or categorization, which is used in health psychology. So I remember in international relations, there was once political thoughts. There were ones that we called realists. They tried to study Machiavelli and always viewed the world as a vile, egoistic, and that everyone works for its own benefit, and it includes the countries. So, one interesting perspective that I heard from another psychologist that in some ways we can try to compare countries as a collection of peoples that, of course, they have their own culture, their own type of government, their own mental ideas of what is right, what's not, but they can react as individuals. So countries can be friends, they can be enemies. One can try to profit from another, and it's just psychology learns how they speak. before. Okay, I had a small interruption. Is it okay or not? Okay, okay. Sometimes it can happen. Okay, I should not worry about that. Um, Again, I have a problem with the internet connection of the country where I live currently. It's Ukraine. Not the best internet in the world. I'll say you this much. Okay. Always interaction of all three. Okay. Okay. Biopsychological. Um, biopsych. Biopsychosocial. Okay. Mm, Made a mistake in my note. Good that I'm still here. Don't want to make mistakes in my notes. Okay. Okay, there's bio. Now there's psycho. And social. Hmm. Yeah, yeah, I remember that as I earlier said about um, international relations, as there were two schools of thoughts, realists and idealists, and that at a later date they tried to get kind of close to each other, and they were purely Machiavellian or purely idealistic that turned into neo-realists, which said that it's still mainly Machiavellian world, but it also has some virtues, and new um, idealists, neo-idealists that also kind of implemented some parts of realist thoughts and put them into their idealistic worldview. So I think this one is an example where there are some different schools of thoughts in psychology, and there's an attempt at trying to unite them into one to look at more than one perspective, both internal and observable. Okay. Mhm. Psychology. Okay, you mastered the core concept. Okay, so now AI thinks that I completed this course. Let's see. Okay, contemporary psychology synthesizes uh, different schools of thoughts. Okay, think about social media use. How might different subfields from the chapter study its effects, each with their own mix of methods? Hmm. Okay. Hmm. Okay, I completed chapter one. Okay, nice. Um, like before we move on. Okay, in this case, it's important to remember that that's a reason why I put the limit for token usage per learning session. But the learning session themselves, at least for students and premium users, is unlimited. I don't want it to hallucinate, which it can if one chat goes on for a long period of time. So every time you try to study, it has a new learning session, which is a new chat. And chats do not store in a database, they're not tracked. I think it's can be stored up to 2 hours before it deletes, just so if person was lost connection due to the internet and then reconnected. So okay. So in this case, if it thinks that I completed chapter one, I do this. I press on end the learning session. It can also finish on itself. So when I press on this button, session complete. This session error failed to connect to Turing session. Okay, that's fine. Okay, maybe I need to fix the bug, but it's okay. Press on this. It's okay. The main thing that is we completed it, so it's fine as well. We don't need to store what was in the chat as long as we remember it or we noted it down. So I think, how challenging was this learning session for you? Okay, so in majority of cases I answered correctly, but there was the error in categorization. So I won't put it as easy. I'd say that it was good, but not perfect. So I'll grade myself as a good learning session. And what it has, we tried to make some gamifying experience. So we have levels and XP, and as well, session completed. Next review will be on the 31st of March. Okay, so we'll be in 4 days. Okay, so after you completed it, you see it was all gray. Now it shows as green. It is learned. Other sections are unlearned, and you can also look at the individual chapters. As you see, next review is planned in 4 days approximately. You can review it if you want, but for the spaced repetition algorithm, it's better for us to wait 4 days until we try to repeat it. Again, it's according to the learning priority. By default, it's on medium. We can also put it as a low or high learning priority. It will affect our future learning sessions. The higher the learning priority, the less time it will give you for the next review. So I put it on medium, but I will think what parts of psychology I want to put on high priority. I don't think I'll put anything in low priority, just because I really want to learn it. Okay, so here's what I learned. I spent approximately 50 minutes. Unfortunately, I didn't. Time spent 0 minutes. And for this, I specifically made a new account. So I'll start it from 0 here, as well as, okay, I spent 50 minutes, but here it says 0 because there was an interruption in the learning session. Okay, but it's fine. We completed it. When we'll go to the paths, again, we could track the progress here. So in show courses, as you can see, it's 6% complete, and it also has a UI. You can see the background green one. If you don't like the dark theme, you can also use the light theme. It uses the purple for a light theme and cyan color for the black theme. Again, I'm not the best UI designer, so it might be a subject of change at a later date. So I estimated, 8 courses, approximately 120 hours to learn. Okay, so I spent 50 minutes and I completed one at 6%, which is right here. You don't necessarily need to use the paths. You can also search for courses individually, and there's a filters on difficulty and tags, and you can check the chapter names before thinking whether you want to learn it or not. Currently, I have 90 courses, but I think I want to have at least 300, 400. I want to have more learning paths. The moment it has only physics and psychology, or economics in the works. Okay. Well, 0 minutes. Okay, but we know that it was 50 minutes. It's just there was a failure in internet connectivity, but it's okay. I also implemented achievements. It'll try to give you more achievement for time spent in learning, on the amount of learning days that you made, and amount of completed courses and certificates. And I'll see. And also, it's a work in progress. You can see it as I have learning experiments with students, but I still need to try to verify whether there are bugs that needs to be fixed and whether it works properly or not. So yeah, it can be subject to change. I think it's like 90% perfect. There's still some small bugs that I can see here and there, but the core functionality of trying to learn is here, and the spaced repetition. So, um, well, I'll try to go straight for chapter 2. Before, I'll try to drink some tea. Yeah, I'll do it very slowly, so I'll have some more for later. Okay, so chapter 1 done. Uh, then go for chapter 2 after that. Let me see. Introduction to psychology. Okay. Introduction is completed for now. Psychological research. Okay. Let's try to go this. You can learn it in any order that you want. You can start from the last section, from the last chapter, but I'll try to go in the order from start to finish. Okay. What is research? Okay, imagine you're trying to decide if your new study method really helps improve grades. Then you go with your gut feeling, ask a teacher you trust, or test it systematically with a group of students. Which approach do you think would give you the most reliable answer? I think it would be best to test it systematically. Okay, so here's what I think, that the third method would be objective, that you try to verify whether the new learning method helps or not. Number two, asking a teacher is a way to ask an expert, but here's a problem. There's not a guarantee that teacher knows this new study method. He can provide opinions on what he thinks about it, and maybe his opinion would be more valid than a person who's not a teacher, but it's still not a scientifically proven method to study. So I think the go with your gut is a least trusted idea to do. Then we can ask a teacher and then to test it systematically. Let's see. So I'll go with a systematic testing. empirical. Okay, we're building your answer with a quick example. Hypothesis: if students use the new study method, and their test scores will improve. Theory: um, now let's explore the different tools. Okay, approaches to research. Let's see. Okay, clinical or case study. The examination of one individual or small group. Now that I'm thinking about it, maybe I'll try to add the option to turn on audio, maybe using the TTS. So it'll be better for people who might want to listen instead of read what's here. I think I'm more of a visual learner, and sometimes I prefer to listen to a book instead of read. So, no way I didn't think about it earlier, but I think I'll try to implement it at a later date. Okay. Okay, clinical or case study, naturalistic observations, surveys. Mhm. Oh, okay. Any question? He always tries to present you some new information and then a question in the end for you to think whether you process this information correctly or not. Okay. Okay, so basically, if they are trying to ask, like, what's the best method for trying to study who is more helpful, people in small towns or in big cities, I don't think it can be a clinical or case study. It best suits with a naturalistic observation and maybe survey and surveys. Archival research could work to a limited degree, and case study is inapplicable here. Oh, made a mistake in that. Okay, double P. Mhm. Okay. Mhm. Oh, correlation versus causation. That's an interesting thing. Let's see. Okay, does this mean living in a small town causes people to be more helpful? Think about this for a moment before I explain. Okay, choose not if one causes thing. Okay, correlation coefficient. Okay, here's the strain, direction, critical problem. A confounding variable might explain the relationship. Maybe small towns. Population pet section. If we okay, if we found that ice cream sales and swimming pool accidents are positively correlated in summer, does buying ice cream cause accidents? Okay, so I think correlation does not equal causation, but strong relationship according to correlation coefficient should be studied anyways. Okay, because you can compare a couple of data. I sometimes try to use the API from the world of data to compare countries, but at the same time, I know that it doesn't mean that one can correlate to another. Uh, okay, maybe I told it wrong. Uh, what I tried to say is correlation does not equal to causation, because even if there is a strong positive or negative relationship between the two data sets, it doesn't mean that one caused the other. I think the strong relationship should be studied anyways. It can point at some system that causes not only one thing but another. In this cases, ice cream sales and swimming pool accidents. But it does not mean that the more people buy ice cream, the more there are accidents in the swimming pool. Because if we thought about this in terms of another variable, which is it's summer, so more people buy ice cream and swim. That's where we see what's the root cause from the increasement of ice cream sales and swimming pool accidents. Okay, site. Okay. Mhm. Okay. Cause cause and effect relationship can be proven by experiment. Okay. Okay. So trying to test it, we need okay one independent variable. Okay, so independent variable is what we manipulate or change. In this case, is the community environment, which is a town or a city. Okay. Second one is dependent variable. What we measure. Okay. Experimental group, control group. Okay, so experimental group is the manipulated environment, whilst control group is neutral environment. Okay. Oh, I'll get dark soon. Okay. Participant has equal chance. Okay, why is random assignment so important in experiment? Here's the question. Random assignment is important to remove potential bias. For example, okay, okay. So I think the random assignments are important because we can remove the potential bias that each of the individual can potentially have, or because they can be incentivized to choose a certain group, especially when compared to try to get the best results for them. In this case, random assignments can remove this bias. Okay, but experimental bias. Mm, okay. Okay, and we have a couple of definitions as well. Single blind and double blind. Okay. Mhm. Okay. Okay. Design an experiment. Okay, let's design a simple experiment together. Suppose we want to test does background music improve concentration during studying? Okay, let's think. Type of community, environment. Um, okay, so I think independent variable in this case would be music versus no music. DV would be number of helping behaviors observed. Mhm. So the dependent variable would be how concentrated students are. Okay. Maybe, but maybe I'm thinking wrong here. Experimental group gets assigned whether they will be with background music or not, and control group gets to choose whether they want to turn on. Maybe no. If we get them to choose, it means that they can be biased towards background music or no background music. So that's the wrong answer. Okay, let me think better about this. Hmm. Okay, experimental group. So experimental group is manipulated environment and control group is neutral environment. So control group. So maybe control group they don't have a choice whether they'll be with background music or not, but they will sometimes have sometimes music, sometimes not. Again, it might be a wrong answer, but that's what I'm thinking at the moment. How would we ensure random assignment? Um, lottery. Let's think about this. We randomly choose who would be in group A or B, maybe by random algorithm without giving participants a choice. And okay, what's one potential confounding variable we need to control for? What's one potential confounding variable we need to control for right now? Maybe the volume of type of music. Not sure here. Okay. Again, it's a blind shot. Blind shot, yeah. Because I'm not sure whether my answer is correct or not. Well, already 2 pages. Before get the concepts down, okay. Independent variable is either music or no music. Dependent is a concentration level. Experiment group gets music. Control group gets no. Okay, maybe here's what I made wrong. Okay, yeah, I said it a little bit differently, so my answer was not perfect. Okay. Okay. Confounding variable. Okay. So it can be a volume, loud or quiet, or type of music. Well, of course. Heavy metal versus classical. Yeah, that will make a difference. Other potential confounds is time of day, music preferences. Okay, here's okay. Design this experiment properly. Studies math problems with soft instrumental music. Control group studies analytical problems in complete silence. And random assignment is computer algorithm assigns participants. Controls the same room, same time of day, same volume level. What ethical considerations should we address before running this experiment? Think about what rights participants have and how we should treat them. Okay. Hmm. Okay. Participants should be able to opt out from experiment at any point for any reason if they feel uncomfortable, either because don't want to learn 30 minutes, they don't like music, no music, or any other reason. I think the ethical consideration is that we place students that have background music, some of them have, some of them don't have it, and they need to study for 30 minutes. So the ethical consideration would be that if the student doesn't want to learn for 30 minutes, maybe 20 would be enough, and then he'll want to opt out. We don't need to include it into our assignment. Maybe some students don't like the volume level. Maybe they won't like the room, which is a part of a control, but it can cause different reactions among different students. So if they don't want it, they opt out, and we don't include their results in our final measurement. I think that would be an ethical consideration, but I don't know. Let's check your understanding with a quick matching exercise. Match the terms to its definition. Okay, match the terms. Placebo effect. Okay, precise description of how variable will be measured. Uh, okay, I know that double-blind study is when neither researchers nor participants know who's in which group. So it would be 3D. Okay, operational definition, committee. Okay, institutional review board, committee that reviews research ethics. I think four would be 4C, a precise description on how the variable will be measured is operational definition 2A, and therefore a placebo effect, it's when expectations influence outcomes. I hope I'm correct on this one. Let's see. Right, the right to withdraw, okay, is a part of informed consent. Key participants must know they can leave at any time without penalty. Other key ethical requirements is okay, explaining risks and benefits. Okay, ensure data confidentiality. Hmm. And debriefing afterward. Mhm. And I'll also, okay, I'll try to write the definitions before I'll try to continue. And after that, oh yeah, I see myself. I see how the environment gets darker. It's more prevalent in the recording. Let's say, okay, I need to. I think I'll end on the chapter 2 of Introduction to Psychology. I might try to learn more without making a stream, but I want to have a challenge that I want to learn psychology. I want to learn every course that we created for 4 years, and I want to also study whether it'll be effective or not. So how would I compare to students who learn psychology? How would I compare to people who already have a bachelor's degree or even master's degree? I don't think I'll be up to par with them. We focus more on theoretical studies. They'll have more labs. They also have some practical studies. So I don't think it 100% can be comparable. But if I can be at least good enough to have like 60% of their grading, it'll be a breakthrough to me. Okay, placebo effect. Okay, I already put the double-blind study definition earlier, so I'll just put IRB. IRB? Institutional Review Board. Mhm. Okay, and now put it all together. Okay, a researcher wants to study stress responses. She tells participants they're testing a new problem solving assessment. Actually, she's observing how they react to increasingly difficult, actually impossible puzzles that cause frustration. Afterward, she explains the true purpose and helps them relax. So, what ethical principle is being used here? Afterward, so I think it's debrief. Debriefing or debrief? Well, okay. Is this deception acceptable? Why or why not? Um, yes, if debrief is made, participants have the right to withdraw, etc. What must the researcher do to make this? Oh, so it tells me that there's something. Okay. Hmm, um, okay. question number 3 implies that something's wrong with the deception. Okay. We can add informed consent and explain risks and benefits. Okay, I'm not really sure whether I understand this correctly or not. So I think I answered incorrectly at least once. I'm sure only with answer number 1 that it's debriefing. Okay, now what you've witnessed here is actually when AI thinks that you learned everything you need to know in this chapter, it will automatically end the learning session and prompt you to answer how well it went. You see? Chapter mastery check, excellent analysis, you identified the key ethical components correctly. So debriefing, yes. Deception acceptability. Okay, so it's correct. If it's necessary for the study's validity, the deception isn't about risks that would affect consent. It's followed by thorough debriefing. Participants have the right to withdraw the data after learning the truth. Okay, additional requirements. Informed consent. IRB approval. Okay, I didn't know that I need to have to ask the committee to, okay, never proceed without, okay. In the consent form, explain they will solve puzzles but not reveal it's actually about stress. Okay. State that some information about the study purpose is being withheld but will be explained later. Oh, okay. Do not reveal that it's a stress test by saying that some of the puzzles will be impossible to solve. Some information is withheld but will be explained later. Okay, this is the important part about we need to tell that we're not telling everything and there will be a debriefing. So they'll be prepared for some sort of deception. Okay, fully explain deception when it was necessary. Okay, in this case, I think I've made almost everything correctly. I think I grasp this, the psychological research in a good manner. Maybe not 100. Okay, so here's one additional problem that I have. Let's see. It is live right now. What will be? Test. Okay, I can send a message from here and test message to, just to ensure that I can do it both from the OBS streaming software, but I already know that there's no layout for the chat, so I cannot put it right here. Again, I have a problem with the first one. We saw that it was working and then it disconnected. So the reason here is that I saw at the moment when the OBS studio confirmed that I temporarily lost the connection to the internet. Unfortunately, the design here is that you need to have a good internet connection to be able to learn from this. Um, Again, I will lose on the time that I spent again because there was an interruption. And again, it was in the end, right after 15 minutes. That's what is, unfortunately, I cannot change right now is that I have frequent interruptions. The internet is not the best in Ukraine. Sometimes it can be jammed for different reasons, and sometimes it's just bad. So I see that as a small problem that every 15 minutes is when it just turns off. But there's a reason for it because the internet is unstable. I think if I lived in another place where the internet would be better, I think I wouldn't have these problems. This is the major problem because I spent almost 2 hours to learn it. But okay, so I'll end the session, I'll put it on easy, and I'll face the same problem. Is because I had interruptions, my account will say that I was only learning for 2 minutes. Or in reality, I already spent 2 hours on studying. That's what is unfortunately wouldn't be correct is the time spent because these interruptions are frequently in my area. But I'll try to compensate it. So that was it. The thing is, it's more for myself. I try to learn